some people don't know the guidelines on staying in another household like clear enough, because there's a lot of blurred lines, because obviously we've never done this before.
Today, some of our Make Good Trouble team members are speaking to Sussex Police about continuing the lockdown guidelines.
A lot of people were asking like where we can go, how long we can go for, and what rules are put in place to make sure that it's safe for someone who's getting stressed in their own household and needs to leave to go somewhere else without breaking any kind of guidelines, if that makes sense. People were wondering if the government were going to place more relaxed rules, which mean we can stay with a friend or relative, but I just wondered where the police's kind of rules are on that.
Being at home together is just, it's hard. It's actually really, really hard. And part of our natural development as teenagers, and I do remember being a teenager, our natural development is that we've got this like drive as teenagers to move to a life that's independent from our parents or independent from the adults we live with. And then suddenly, literally, what feels like overnight, you've got to live full time with these adults that drive you mad, and you can barely go out, and you can't kind of let off steam with your mates in the same way. So what I kind of came to a conclusion for that is actually our parents and our carers and our adults, this is a big surprise for them too, and it's really difficult for them too. So kind of like, I think if we all appreciate that real sense of frustration that we all have and that burning desire to go out and stay somewhere else, actually that's okay. That's a really justifiable reaction. That's a really okay way to feel. And you're probably not the only person in your house that feels like that. Moving on from that, there are some people that just don't feel safe at home. And so even once they've come to accept that that feeling is okay, they might want to choose to go and stay somewhere else that feels safer. So with regards to the rules specifically, it is really hard for legislation to cover all scenarios. But there's been an attempt by those people whose job it is to interpret the law to answer the public's questions, and that's one of them. Kind of just reading from the rules. Exactly. There's a document produced by the Crown Prosecution Service that covers what they feel are reasonable excuses to leave the house. And it says that the regulations allow people to move house. And this means that individuals can move between households, but it should be a genuine move, measured in days, not in hours. So the short answer to your question is, yeah, people can go and stay with another household. Just make sure that they're happy to have you, that they aren't shielding or showing any symptoms, and that nor are you.
So, Roisin, you mentioned about obviously the safety and things, some people not finding it safe to kind of be at home. How's that kind of been with, obviously, there's been a massive rise in like domestic abuse cases. Have you seen that increasing with calls being made to the police? Kind of how are you dealing with that? I know personally as a kid in foster care, I know me and my foster carers, we've been driving each other insane. Have you had an increase in calls with that, and how you kind of go about dealing with it?
So it's kind of multifaceted, really. So one, we knew just looking at other countries' experiences that there would be a rise in domestic violence, and so it's kind of twofold in a way. One, we know it's going to rise, and we might get an increase in reporting, but they're not always the same thing. So people don't always feel like they're in a safe place to report. So we have to be quite clever about it, or we kind of have to think outside the box. Part of it is making it clear to people who are stuck in a situation that is dangerous but don't feel like they can reach out to the police. It's making it clear where else they can reach out to, and that there is an exception to the rule that allows them to move to a place of safety if they're able to set that up for themselves. And then there's also how we respond. With regards to what we call business as usual policing, we have continued throughout to go to calls of domestic violence, and we've continued to use the full range of powers that we have to deal with that. So we've never stopped turning up. We've never not had enough officers to do it. We've never stopped arresting people. We've done all of that exactly the same as we did before, because we recognise actually in some people's households that is a bigger threat than COVID is. Their safety.
So, year 12, the first year of college, students are really, really worried about what this means for their progression exams to like go into the next year of college and university visits specifically. And they're waiting for lockdown to be relaxed enough so they can safely go and visit uni open days. But obviously, uni open days are full of loads of people, like lots of touching stuff and handouts. So a lot of people that I spoke to were wondering how and when uni days are going to be able to come about, and how measures are going to be put in place to make it safe for us to go there.
Start with, I think all of us adults who, I can't influence the change in all of this stuff, but I think it's incumbent upon us to realise actually for your generation, this kind of rite of passage that you might have had or expected is going to look really different. And that's going to be, it's going to be frustrating, it's going to be worrying, it's going to lead to lots of questions about, do I still pursue that path that I intended to take? And actually, I think that's why it's really important for us to be listening to you and to come into a forum that we want to hear your questions, because actually I ordinarily work at the University of Brighton. I have been thinking about all the different people this affects. And actually, to be honest, until you asked the question, I hadn't thought about year 12s. I'd been thinking about the other age groups, but it just hadn't occurred to me. So that just highlights why it's really important to sit down and have a chat and just get your points of view. I mean, I had a quick look at the University of Brighton, and certainly what they're doing, and actually it's evident others are, they're having to be really, really creative about delivering open day without being open. And they are creating some really unique kind of online experiences. I mean, it's not going to be the same as going onto a campus in person. But then I was thinking, but actually, I don't know. But in reality, if campuses which are currently shut up and down the country did open for open days, would it actually create the same experience as what you might have had last year? It's not, is it? It's going to be quick, because campuses are just going to, when they do open, they're going to have to come up with some really innovative ways to get people together whilst distanced, whilst still trying to get the same learning experience in buildings that are built for larger numbers of people closer together. In some ways, it's about looking online and seeing what your university offers by way of alternative open day. I think in some respects it's about you knowing that us adults in your world, if you like, we're going to just have to acknowledge that for you and your peers, university is going to be a really different experience from application period onwards. And that then actually for you, it might be that you choose to have this influence your decision making, in the sense that you might want to go and have a look and see which universities are flexing and adapting best, and a university you might have been eyeing up might just be really slow off the mark in creating an open day alternative, whereas a university might have been second or third on your list, might be creating a much better response. And you might just go, do you know what, I'm going to have that influence where I go, because I'm looking to study whatever it is. And in that industry, you need to be able to adapt quickly, which I think every industry is realising now it needs to do. And so I think it's about not trying to give you what can't be given, recognising that it's going to look different, and then supporting you to make the best choices you can, given the circumstances you found yourself in. Does that make sense?